Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are out there today. I am with Pierluigi Stella, CTO and founder over at NetworkBox USA. My name is Len DiCostanzo, CEO here at MSP Toolkit. We've got a great topic today, the SASE Market Opportunity for MSPs. The edge defense of the future is here. And it's really all about offering networking and cybersecurity as a service to your clients to enable secure anywhere, any device, anytime access to data and applications. And I think we've always had to do that. I could certainly remember my days as an MSP solution provider back in the day, providing remote access solutions. But I think now in today's environment, it's more important than ever. So quick summary of myself, I've been around a while. I've been a solution provider, worked over at Kaseya for a couple of years, Autotask, helped with the global MSP community there, joined Datto during our merger. So I've been out there a long time working with some of the top MSPs in the world. And Pierluigi Stella has kind of been the same. So Pierluigi, maybe a little introduction.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for attending. Yeah, been around a while too, you can say that. I started NetworkBox with the idea of NetworkBox USA. So with the idea of 2002, 2003, the internet was starting to pick up, and we thought things are going to get bad at some point, and it was like quite some foresight there that things would get really bad. So 20 years later.
Pierluigi, you're a little far. It's hard to hear you.
I will. The companies had been protecting lots of countries in the US and globally, in the US especially banks. And we are a fully managed, hands-on, hands-off, turnkey solution provider, managed security services.
Very good. So Pierluigi's been doing this a long time. If you really couldn't hear him, over 20 years in the business, delivering cybersecurity and network and solutions to his client base. And so let's get rolling here with our show. So we've got some housekeeping. I'm hearing a little echo, Pierluigi. Can you mute yourself? So right here you can see, enter your questions and comments. We've got a Q&A box. We've got a chat window. And feel free to enter your questions throughout the session. If you have any issues, let us know. We'll take a look at it. We've got a moderator behind the scenes, and we will be recording the webinar and sending it out after it is processed, probably about 24 hours. So very happy you guys have joined us here, and let's get rolling. This webinar is sponsored by NetworkBox USA. And really what NetworkBox is all about is doing networking and cybersecurity for you, done for MSPs by NetworkBox USA. They're based out of Houston, Texas, provided networking and cybersecurity services since year 2000. And Pierluigi's been running the show there. And I've been brought in by Pierluigi to just kind of help him move over to a more 100% channel business and really working with our partners to bring not only SASE solutions to their clients, but peace of mind as they kind of build a network and a cybersecurity solution that protects today's business. Pierluigi, any thoughts? Hopefully your sound is a little better. Otherwise, I'm going to mute you.
Don't mute me. Any thought? We'll have time to go over more specifics, but in general, NetworkBox, the idea is we want to be your partner and take over your headaches, take away your headaches of cybersecurity. We have a large roster of solutions that are all proprietary and very successful. We've been in business for over 20 years, again, protecting banks and many large corporations globally. We are prepared for the future of cybersecurity. And channel is our strategy today. We are 100% committed to be 100% channel. We are 100% channel, and our partners enjoy a very long-standing relationship where they have made some serious recurring revenue over the years.
Very good, Pierluigi. Maybe you could work on your sound. Otherwise, we may have to not have you present here. So I don't know if you want to dial in and out, but we're just going to keep on rolling. Something's happened to Pierluigi's sound. Apologize, but we've got some great content ready to go. So today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about what is SASE and why you need it, and kind of dive into key considerations when planning not only your move to SASE as an MSP, but how do you get your clients over into a SASE framework and why it's important to do so. And we'll really talk about how do you get started today deploying critical SASE solutions, and then kind of bring in how NetworkBox USA can accelerate your path to SASE. So what is SASE and why do you need it? And I always kind of like to get a sense of what our audience is all about here. So we're going to pop up a quick polling question just so we understand the lay of the land. And we just want to understand if you're familiar with Gartner's SASE model. And we've got a few choices there for you. Yes, but you're not selling SASE services. I know I've been seeing quite a number of emails now over the last couple of months from some vendors out there. I think the market is starting to come down into the MSP world, into the SMB world, as most of this tends to happen up at the enterprise space. And really, we all know it's your job as an MSP to bring it into your client base. Yes, we are selling SASE-based solution ready is another choice. Maybe you understand SASE's multiple components that you might be deploying individually as point solutions. So just kind of walk through, maybe no, you're not familiar with, but you're starting to dive into it, and looks like we've got some no's. This is the first time we're going to be hearing it. And I'd love to get a couple more votes in there. So if you're paying attention, you want to kind of contribute in here to your peers, let us know, are you familiar with Gartner's SASE model? And I guess we're ready to close the poll. We've hit that magic number of 70%. So I'm going to close the poll, and I can share the results here so y'all see it. And certainly looks like most of you are familiar with SASE, but not selling it. And I trust that as I move through the next couple of slides, you're going to realize you are, in fact, perhaps selling some SASE components, and you're going to kind of see SASE as just a framework wrapping itself around some of the things you're doing today. And I can certainly recall back as I was getting familiar with ITIL, best practice framework as a solution provider, and I was just quite surprised that we were doing most of that already, and I think you're going to see that now. So let's hide that poll and get back into our session. So what is SASE and why do you need it? Pierluigi, I'm just going to check on your sound one more time here and see how you're doing, but any thoughts there on SASE and where we're heading?
Where we're headed, the SASE is, it's funny that Gartner keeps saying it's the future, the future, the future. In my opinion, it's already here. It's already here. It was here before COVID, and COVID has 100% accelerated the growth of SASE. It's pushed SASE to be the way we must be doing networking and security. The convergence of networking and security as one thing is finally caught up with the industry. It's always been important. For some reason, we have insisted in keeping the two separate. I don't know if you remember when there was a time when networking people were in charge of the firewall, because the firewall is a networking piece, and the security people were in charge of the IDS, IPS. That's the kind of nonsense, if I may. Finally, it's coming to an end. Everything on a network is related, and security is inherently part of a network. And that's what SASE is about.
Great, Pierluigi, it's definitely hard to hear you, and we may have to just continue moving here. So let's jump into what is SASE and why do you need it? And I think one of the keys here is there is a need, and actually there's always been a need for secure, anywhere, anytime access to applications and services. And I think for an MSP, our goal is to have as little overhead as possible, to automate and optimize service delivery where possible. And I think as we move through the SASE framework here, you're going to see it does that for you. I could certainly remember throughout my time as a solution provider, which as you can tell, has been quite extensive, but dropping in Citrix solutions and remote access solutions probably since the beginning of time. We're always trying to do it. And I think, of course, Pierluigi mentioned COVID. I think digital transformation has always been, happening. It's just a constant evolution. And only recently with COVID have you really seen this, sped up. The shift in digital transformation has sped up. You guys are at the forefront of it. And I'm sure many, if not all of you, have had to jump through hoops through the COVID years to get your clients to be able to work anywhere. And of course, the proliferation of SaaS apps, the decentralization of workers really has driven the need for SASE. And what's interesting is Gartner defined SASE in 2019, pre-pandemic. And I thought that was quite interesting because obviously as COVID came about, digital transformation was accelerated and really made SASE extremely relevant. And you can see here that it is bringing together networking and security under one umbrella, under one framework, the SASE framework, and really bringing perimeter defense to an edge defense kind of a scenario. And SASE is all about converged network and security as a service, but primarily delivered as a service through the cloud. And you're really trying to bring that edge as close to the user as possible. And I think, as you could see here, it mandates cloud edge for networking and security services, but there are certain use cases where on-prem is required. And I think what's interesting here is, as I've worked with Pierluigi and NetworkBox, they've been doing cybersecurity and networking aligned with SASE for over 20 years now. And I think what Gartner and other research firms do, obviously, is see the trends, see what's happening. And what you see is most folks doing VPN back in the day, firewall, now it's on a UTM device, it's on-prem. The perimeter has always been headquarters. And now with people working multiple locations, working remote, hybrid workforce, they're not always going back into headquarters to access data. They're going into headquarters to access what they need to access, still on a server perhaps, going into a data center. But more importantly, there's so many SaaS and cloud apps now. How do you actually secure that business, secure those users, the workforce as best you can? And I think that's where the SASE framework is going to help MSPs, as it's going to support branch office, remote worker, and on-premise secure access use cases, many of them. Pierluigi has mentioned to me many times, 20 users, more than one location, he puts in a SASE framework. And in certain cases, it's not really about how many employees there are, but what does that need the client has? What does their workforce look like, and how are they working? And I'm going to give Pierluigi one more chance out there to kind of weigh in and hear it.
I have changed the microphone. Do you hear me better now?
So much better. It's
so much better. Okay. I decided that it was time to bring in the big guns. I'm sorry. I apologize that I couldn't make it work before. Being the CTO, I should be ashamed. The point isn't as much as the size of the company as how the company conducts their business, right? In the recent years, and especially after COVID, we are talking more and more about there is no more perimeter, but in a company there is always an edge. You can call it in a different way. It's not because you're not in an office with a LAN, maybe. By the way, many companies still have a well-defined LAN today. But even if you don't, then you still have an edge, right? A perimeter, a virtual perimeter, call it, where you have workers at home, roaming, traveling, some people in some offices, branch offices, data, some in the cloud, some in your headquarters, some in a data center. You have a distribution of access and a distribution of data that has brought the advent of something that should have been around for 30 years, and that was actually invented and defined for the first time in 1999, the zero trust. I don't know why it has taken us 24 years to actually finally adopt the framework of zero trust. But there's also a component, if I may, of laziness, of, you know what, it's a lot easier to trust the LAN, let me trust it. So easier to trust the VPN, let me trust it, because click a button, it's done, right? What's that got to do with SASE? It has a lot to do because zero trust is inherently a part of the SASE framework, and the definition of Gartner, we'll see it later in a minute, includes many components, but it doesn't mean that every component has to be there for it to be SASE, right? The main underlying idea is, let's stop pretending that network and security are two different things. They're not. The network, you cannot build it and then secure it. You build it securely. That's a very different approach, right? We went through this in application development over the years. Build application, don't care, don't worry about security, then overall, and then later bang your head in how to secure it. Or from the get-go, adopt certain methodologies of software development that will make it secure from the start. Well, finally, we're getting that into the network as well.
Very profound, Pierluigi. Agreed. I think security now is certainly a must. And I think you talked about some of the components and individual components. And what we're seeing right here, as I kind of grab my little pen, is, you've got all types of folks looking to access resources that are now located everywhere, not only at headquarters, in the cloud, inside apps, inside databases, and not only your employees, but perhaps contractors or partners coming in to various systems, whether they're mobile or remote or sitting in an office. They're out there on the edge somewhere, and they need to access those resources at any time, wherever they are. And as you could see, passing through this consistent network and security environment in a SASE cloud infrastructure is really key, where you've got your WAN edge services and your security service edge working together. And one of the things we'll talk about shortly is, threat awareness and being aware of what kind of threats are out there, so that as you actually deliver in the service itself is kind of identifying what might be a threat or what might not be a threat. So clearly what you see here, Gartner putting together a SASE framework consisting of both networking and cybersecurity under one umbrella. And in fact, it's not just a single vendor with multiple solutions, but a single vendor ultimately with a very integrated solution where it's very simple to orchestrate and administer this environment across these multiple point solutions. I'm sure most folks, right, delivering some SD-WAN at this point, right, Pierluigi? Certainly secure web gateway, firewalls, everybody's doing firewalls. How do we take that next step as MSPs? Certainly we see security frameworks, you got NIST, you got CIS, certainly compliance out there. And what you need to do is protect your clients the best you can. And ultimately, if anything gets through, you have to be able to recover that data. But the key here is protecting it ahead of any type of potential attack getting through. And what you see here is kind of an enterprise view that Gartner has, where primarily SD-WAN, firewall, SWG, these various solutions, typically at an enterprise level, are being purchased by 5 different buyers, working in a silo. And ultimately, what's happening with SASE and the SASE evolution is that 5 buyers are going to shrink down to 2 buyers, 2 distinct buyers, perhaps on the networking and cybersecurity side, ultimately to where there's one buyer buying a SASE solution that includes those key components that you just saw on this previous slide here, all these individual components. So while you may have delivered 5-point solutions to your client base, and certainly I know everybody's doing firewall out there, and I think you talk about firewall as a service, but the reality is, as I speak to MSPs, it's a real job to update the firewall, keep it current. Any of the solutions as an MSP, back in the day, maybe you didn't have to be so vigilant, but you just really need these solutions to be monitored as a service, managed as a service. And what the goal here is to start transitioning into a SASE framework in your stack. And how do you do that? Well, if you've got 5 distinct solutions right now, you've got to start somewhere. Pick a vendor that potentially can get you down into that one vendor solution. And right here, you see I'm popping up some network box logos. Each of these solutions are services, in fact, are offered by Network Box USA, and they are done for you. And the key is getting started, picking a solution, maybe looking at your client base. Where can you kind of replace a solution that you already have? Maybe there's a hardware replacement opportunity. You're moving folks to the cloud, whatever it may be. Pick a solution, pick a vendor, start working your way down this SASE evolution as an MSP and start selecting your vendors. And I do hear MSPs talk about reviewing their stack, maybe at the end of the year, the beginning of the year, but you got to really be vigilant and be sure that you are doing what's right for your business to become more efficient and for your clients. So as you make this SASE evolution, the goal is pick a vendor, start rolling your solutions in to where you ultimately have one single vendor SASE solution. And we'll have some stats on how that's trending, of course, because that's what Gartner is looking at right now. So I guess, Pierluigi, now that we can hear you well, what do you think of the SASE evolution and how Network Box can fit?
As we talk about this integration from multiple vendors, I always think this way. We talked to some MSPs recently in our quest for widening our network of resellers, and some of them have up to 9, 10 vendors. And I figure in my mind like this Frankenstein car with parts purchased from different manufacturers, and you put it together and somehow you make it work. It works, but God forbid that something breaks, you're gonna be crying. Right? I like this analogy because it's all in my mind, because I feel the same way. When you have 9 vendors, if something gets through, you're never gonna know which one of your applications actually failed. If you want to provide a report, now you have 9 reports to provide. If you want to do an investigation, now you have 9 different places where you're doing the investigation. And you may have 3 vendors on the phone pointing fingers at each other. Let alone the billing, that being an MSP, you're going to get 9 invoices, or if not more, every month. From just a sheer point of view of the how it all fits together, it's got to be a nightmare, right? And with a vendor like Network Box, we have all our proprietary information, a proprietary solution. It's been there for 23 years. It's proven. It's very successful, and it's one. Every piece is developed not as a silo on its own, but as a part of the full puzzle that integrates nicely together. There is a part of this we're not discussing here today, which is the SIEM. All of these things will report their logs into a cloud-based security information management, security information and event management, where you're going to have one interface, one dashboard where you can see everything that's happening for your client everywhere. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's very important to understand that this allows you to simplify things. In reality, you end up having a great advantage, not only in you may probably make more money and you have a lot less headaches and you get just one invoice, but also you can manage it a lot easier, because every time something breaks, you pick up the phone and call one vendor, and now it's our problem. And that's actually something that one of my clients told me in 2005. I'll never forget it. I asked her, why are you with us? And she said, well, because when I have a problem, I pick up the phone and call you, and then I can go get a coffee, and that's your problem. That's part of how the service works, right? So again, in all of this integration, Network Box becomes your partner in 100% part of your team. And Len is making the point that you can bring along some of the pieces, and you don't have to adopt all of it at once. But as you go along, I guarantee you will probably get hungry for more of the pieces, because you will see how they fit together nicely. And now it's a natural evolution. Like we install a data collector for a CM in a network, and then the same device can become your SD-WAN device, because we don't need 3 devices, because we are one company and we can do that, right? And therefore we can make these devices do everything we want. It's so much, it simplifies your life. And all of a sudden you grow into the client. And by the way, with some of the resellers that have already signed up in this program, we are discovering opportunities as we go along because it's so easy to integrate. It's so easy to turn on another feature and move on into this chain of the SASE towards the one vendor without
So it's not
having
even like
to disrupt the client's network.
not adding new boxes, you're not adding anything. It's simply turning on a feature set inside of, the network box cloud, essentially, Pierluigi, right? It's
Yes.
it's almost, plug and play, if you will. And as you're moving down, starting with network box, I like the idea of, you get hungry for more, and I think that works well. So, SASE is real important for MSPs and their clients. What you see here are some of the key SASE benefits we've kind of heard back and kind of derived from working with our MSP partners. And certainly it's about incremental recurring revenue and profitability. And I throw in incremental revenue. I do think while you're selling pieces of SASE or some SASE components, as Pierluigi said, you can add in other feature sets pretty easily, and you're going to slowly generate more wallet share from your client base. And in terms of profitability, if you do partner and outsource with an MSSP like NetworkBox, you're going to reduce your costs and your overhead and be able to focus on some of the other things you do well while simply generating profits and revenue from outsourcing and partnering with an MSSP. You get time and cost savings through the flexible design and ease of administration that comes with having a central admin console. And in fact, if you're putting it out there and working with a partner like NetworkBox, you really don't even have to worry about it. It's all kind of done for you. And the beautiful thing is consistent policy enforcement and decentralization is enabled with SASE. So in today's workforce, being able to kind of set a policy and then push it out across multiple services, multiple feature sets in this decentralized world, you're going to see a ton of benefits. And I think ultimately it's about that end user experience. They're going to be better protected, and they're not going to be perhaps traveling from a remote workforce back into headquarters and out to the cloud, but they're going to be able to go right to the cloud, right to their SaaS app, and still be protected. So they're going to have a great user experience. And I think one of the questions we're going to answer here is, do you build, buy, or partner to not only realize the benefits of SASE in your MSP, but how do you get your clients to realize the benefits of SASE as well? And as Pierluigi mentioned, it's not just about SASE. We've been doing this a long time. I've been working with MSPs. You guys are out there, feet on the street. Pierluigi mentioned SIM, and in my world, I come from RMM, PSA, and work with MSPs where you can't be an MSP without an RMM. And if you want to be in security, if you want to say you're in cybersecurity, I believe SIM is as important as your RMM, certainly going forward, just because of the bountiful amounts of data that are out there across your devices that are basically logging everything that's going on. And it's going to be impossible for a human to kind of correlate that data, understand what's going on now, and even be able to go back and look in the past. So, security, information, and event management is not optional going forward. In my opinion, you got to get it in place, especially as you're moving into a SASE model, as SIM supports your SASE deployment. And of course, NetworkBox USA does have a SIM solution, SIM Plus, that extends the SASE benefits. So consider SIM as a key offering, a key service in your toolbox. So of course, Gartner has studied the market, and it's probably why they came up with the SASE model. Perhaps some vendors combining these key solutions asked them to do it. However it came about, the trends were there and in place. You guys have seen it out there yourself. UTM boxes kind of combining multiple services in one. But now again, with that decentralized workforce, how do you go about securing your clients? And what you see here, these various SASE components we've been chatting about are certainly happening now, or certainly growing now. You could see a 36.3% 5-year compound annual growth rate, growing to 14.7 billion. These individual SASE components together are a huge part of the market opportunity out there developing for MSPs. And as I always, like to say, I didn't really like when a vendor trimmed down a solution for the SMB market. If that enterprise is looking at it and using it, you need to bring it down into your client base. You are the feet on the street that your client relies on. So stay vigilant and look at the SASE components as a key element inside your service catalog. And you could see here again, NetworkBox can help you along that evolutionary journey to build a SASE offering in your toolkit. And what we can see here as the numbers add up, $14.7 billion market opportunity for SASE by 2025. I always look at these numbers as being, kind of out of reach. And I tend to focus my clients, my MSPs, even my vendors who work with their MSPs, my vendor clients, focus on your client base, take a look at what you have deployed already, and perhaps you can start with your SASE evolution by picking a solution you have out there and slowly migrating it over, because it is happening. You see here a couple of stats. 80% of enterprises have adopted a SASE, will be adopting a SASE security service edge architecture by 2025, up from 20% in 21. 65% will consolidate individual SASE components into one or two partners, SASE vendors, up from 15% in 2021. And that's what we've been talking about. The SASE evolution is happening now. How are you going to take part in it? And 50% of SD-WAN purchases will be part of that single vendor SASE offering in 2025, up from 10% in 2021. So as you're making your move to secure your clients, realize you're not alone. It's happening out there, and stay on top of SASE and where it's heading, and you'll definitely kind of be able to take advantage of those benefits. But again, being in the space a while, we know it's more than SASE. Often wondered, SASE is talking about networking and cybersecurity and bringing out that security out to the edge to where that user is. You still have to protect that user. And for MSPs, it's certainly more than SASE, with threats coming from every angle. You've got email fraud, malware, ransomware attacks, supply chain attacks, insider threats, and really these threats coming from all angles. This is part of what you guys are doing out there every day. Where can you simplify your life? Are you managing all these point solutions to kind of be prepared for these multiple threat vectors coming into your client's business and your own? And of course, NetworkBox can help you here as well as a full source MSSP. A lot of offerings coming out of NetworkBox USA that you could outsource and focus on what you do best as your partner with one of the best in the business. So the MSP opportunity is now, and I've mentioned your client base, kind of summed it up here. Remember that pandemic? It seems like it was a long time ago, but obviously not. How did you respond during the pandemic? Did you put a Band-Aid solution to manage the shift? Were you able to burst up and support, from one remote user to more than half the company working remote and mobile? And that's really the key behind a SASE type framework in your stack. You can burst up and go from, one remote user, everybody in the office, to multiple locations, at the drop of a dime. Did you defer true upgrades with a Band-Aid solution? Maybe your competition put a Band-Aid solution out there, and you can start, questioning, new prospects or new folks that you want to work with. What's their current MSP doing? Because I do think most of us thought at the start of the pandemic, we'd be going back to the office soon, kind of put that Band-Aid solution together. And for those of you into the Wizard of Oz, you're not in Kansas anymore. Work has changed. Mobility is here to stay. The hybrid workforce is here to stay. And at the end of the day, your clients are relying on you to protect their data and their business. So, put SASE on your radar and be prepared to go out and deploy it. So with that, I'm going to jump into another polling question just to kind of get a take here on how you feel now about SASE. But based on what you've seen to this point, are you selling SASE solutions? Are you already selling SASE services into your client base? And I know we asked it earlier, but a lot of folks said they weren't selling it. Maybe now that you see it includes VPN, firewall as a service, SD-WAN, perhaps you think you are selling it. So maybe let's grab some attention back in here. And Pierluigi, any thoughts while we get folks to respond to this polling question? Pierluigi, you out there?
Okay.
All right, well,
Actually, I have to step away from the webinar to call you. Do you? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is your cell phone?
yeah, Pierluigi, I need you to go on mute.
So let me grab somebody. Yeah.
All right, guys, I've muted Pierluigi. So again, let's grab a couple. You know, I apologize for some of the sound issues here today, but you know, let's kind of understand, are you selling any SASE services today? Are you selling one? Are you selling more than one? And I guess what we're going to kind of cover as we move in is how you might be able to get into SASE a little more quickly than perhaps you are right now. So with that, I see we've got some pretty good responses here, and I am going to close out the poll and kind of share that it looks like we've got about 33% here not selling SASE. We've got another third that are selling one or more, and 17% are selling more than one SASE service. And happy to see some folks are here to learn, and I'm hoping we're sharing some good insight on SASE. So with that, let me hide this poll and we'll get rolling again. So as you move into SASE, you always have the question to build, perhaps buy, or partner. And what you see here is there's a lot to building and staffing your cybersecurity and networking practice, you know, evaluating vendors and tools, developing your product knowledge. And once you understand the product, how do you put together a solution stack, and also bring in what the related managed services are going to be, hiring and retaining those expensive cyber engineers. And I think, you know, he always talks about ISO certification, PCI attestation. It's a very expensive proposition if you really want to do security right as an MSP. That's why the birth of MSSP has happened. These are the companies making an investment where perhaps you as an MSP can't. And it's obviously a long-term effort to build your NOC, your SOC, and potentially more risk to realize a better ROI down the line. And it's real key to consider outsourcing to a trusted partner with a quicker go-to-market approach, solving your challenges as an MSP now, and certainly your client challenges as well. Quickly expanding your offerings with potential, you know, for driving some MRR pretty quickly around the SASE framework. And typically your trusted partner is going to have some marketing assets for you, provide pre and post sales report, and is already going to have those key certifications in place. And ultimately, I like to call it a bridge to practice building. As you learn how that vendor's doing it, you can pick up more and more of that responsibility and drive more of that revenue into your pocket. And it's ultimately going to be important to manage your vendors properly. And again, you know, we are here with NetworkBox, and we're talking about potentially partnering up with NetworkBox as a trusted partner.
I will interject a second here. We haven't, there is a part of this presentation we haven't gone over yet about what the underlying structure of our offering, which is coming up now on this, on what you were just showing, on the list that you were just showing. Many of the security services, or security services in general, right, isn't just, we've been talking about SASE, CM, we seem to be talking about technologies, but security is not a technology. Security is always a service, and it's very important that we repeat. I will repeat it later. NetworkBox has an underlying structure that we will show you in a minute that supports the technologies that we provide. That is very important, that which is what makes it such an effective solution. More importantly, as a small, I get called into conferences and the speaking engagements once, twice a month. The constant in our industry is the lack of skills. We cannot graduate enough people from college fast enough to hire them. So if you get lucky enough to hire one cybersecurity engineer, first of all, it will cost you so much money that will probably take you 50 clients to make up for that money. Second, I do not know how long you will be able to retain him or her, because it's just the nature of this business, of this industry. These people are very requested. They come to companies like ours because with our company, they have a global view, and I mean it, global view of real-time threats, and they can learn every second of their day in an environment where they share their knowledge with other hundreds of people like-minded doing the same job. So it becomes very challenging and very interesting. I've seen this firsthand, when they work for an MSP, after a while, they end up leaving. Even if they don't leave, they don't have enough time, information, and opportunity to improve and to learn. And so I'm trying to say it, I don't want to say that they're not as effective by all means, but they're alone, okay? And I like to speak by analogies. It's like you being on a train and your only view to the world is the window, and you think that's the world. But if you're standing on the roof, you realize the world is a lot bigger. So that's a kind of analogy. If they're working for a company like us, they see the world. If they work for an MSP, they see those 20 clients and the threats from those 20 clients. They cannot stay abreast of best practices, threats, evolution, and all the other things that are very important, right? Yeah, if you're a company with $200 billion and you can hire 50 people and build your own network box, that's a different story. But I'm talking a regular MSP. There's probably you probably don't have the resources to do hiring and ISO certification and PCI attestation and the SOC and the threat intelligence and so on and so forth. And those are very important components of the cybersecurity solution that we provide to our partners.
Good points, Pierluigi. I think well received. So, how do you seize the opportunity with SASE managed services? And Pierluigi was kind of mentioning, all of the skills back at NetworkBox, but they do have a proprietary stack of network and cybersecurity services along with SASE, and I think that's really key. I'm trying to mute Pierluigi, a lot of noise in the background there. But this proprietary stack of network and cybersecurity services has been aligned with SASE for the last 20 years. A nice edge defense package, including secure SD-WAN, secure web gateway, UTM plus, your web application firewall, all kind of coupled together and supported by the NetworkBox SIM Plus solution. And in fact, as Pierluigi mentioned, the relevance of SIM, NetworkBox USA includes free SIM Plus with 90 days of rolling data that will cover each of the NetworkBox services that you deploy, not necessarily any other service. You can easily expand into SIM Plus and cover and grab all your logs from all your devices and start to correlate that data together. And in fact, NetworkBox USA offers even more protection with managed cloud email security and reputation monitoring. And I think the biggest difference Pierluigi was alluding to earlier, it's not just a service, it's not just a tool in your toolkit, but these services are powered by some serious back-end energy. You got best-in-class threat intelligence, a self-operated security response center, a fully staffed global network of SOCs with incident response services overlaid by a unified GUI to administer across the services deployed, across the NetworkBox services deployed with KPIs, dashboards, pre-built custom reports, customizable reports, all supported with the highest level of certifications and awards. So again, not just tools in your toolkit, I know it's MSP toolkit, but the real difference here are all of these fantastic back-end services that are powering the SASE aligned services, SIM, managed cloud email offered by NetworkBox. And in fact, just diving in a little detail, the NetworkBox Security Operations Center, 24/7, 365. I've certainly seen many MSPs working with 2 or more SOCs. That's got to be a difficult proposition. Again, disparate solutions, different SOCs, different processes. And as you move into a SASE aligned offering, and you get down to that single vendor offering, maybe you can get to work with one SOC and handle all of your security incidents in partnership. Centralized logging and management. How many folks out there have 16 SOCs spanning the globe, all communicating and sharing information? The NetworkBox Security Response Center, informed by world-class threat intelligence. NetworkBox world-class threat intelligence, which we're going to touch on in a second, but tens of thousands of new signatures deployed each day, tens of millions of reputation signatures currently tracked, and in real time, in milliseconds, any of these threats are pushed out with NetworkBox technology out to those cloud services, out to those devices, pushed out or out in the field with NetworkBox. And again, real important, so many devices out there being analyzed and collecting data, and NetworkBox partners with over 100 threat intelligence providers, and in fact, is one of the top providers out there, being awarded Microsoft's top 10 threat intelligence provider. So really important to understand the value of threat intelligence as informing the NetworkBox Security Response Center and being there for you. And you see those certifications and awards: ISO 27001, 20000, 9001, PCI DSS, SOC 2 Type 2, and over 140 international awards won to date. I chat with partners, every day, talk about NetworkBox, and one thing I consistently hear is NetworkBox USA is the best kept secret in the channel, and they really want us to keep it down because they feel it really differentiates them from the competition. Luigi, any thoughts on some of these differentiators? I know you kind of spoke a little.
I think what I want to stress that
we got about 12 minutes left, so we'll move through it.
That's fine. I'll go very fast. It's important that we stress this. Security is not a tool. We can sit here for another 10 hours talking about SASE, about SD-WAN, about WAF, about CM. These are all tools. What really makes them hum along is the service that we provide underneath. The fact that Microsoft in 2019 said that NetworkBox was one of the top 10 threat intelligence providers in the globe is really one of the jewels of what you are purchasing when you purchase a service with NetworkBox. All your tools will always be 100% up to date to the last millisecond. We are, by the way, the fastest company in the world at updating the devices because of how the devices are built and how they are connected to the SOC. That's, by the way, the reason why we use our own technology and not somebody else's, because we couldn't do this with somebody else's technology. And the limiting the time of exposure by being incredibly fast with threat intelligence is a fundamental reason why we have been so successful in protecting our clients over the years.
Great. So it's not just a service, it's what's behind the service. I think that's real important. And that's why NetworkBox USA can deliver this value proposition of helping MSPs protect themselves and their clients with minimal investment in people, process, and technology, because they do networking and cybersecurity for you with a proprietary stack of done-for-you networking and cybersecurity services aligned with SASE. And I think that's real important as an MSP. Prior to cybersecurity, prior to networking, prior to all these threats, it was all about the infrastructure, helping your client run their business. Now you got a heap of cybersecurity to worry about, and in fact, partnering with someone like NetworkBox with a monitored and managed, fully staffed SOC with a unique security response center informed by world-class threat intelligence can do nothing but accelerate your MRR and deliver peace of mind to you, our partners, NetworkBox partners, as well as your clients. So we'll kind of quickly move through these solutions in detail. You know, the webinar is going to be sent out on demand, include the PowerPoint. I highlighted in secure SD-WAN, firewall, and IPS, because we've been talking about some pretty distinct solutions up to this point. But in fact, you can see intrusion prevention systems, firewall, DDoS, VPN included in the SD-WAN offering offered to you and done for you by NetworkBox USA. As you move in and take a look at SWG, Secure Web Gateway, again, firewall, intrusion prevention, VPN, anti-malware. Just like Pierluigi said earlier, each of these offerings you can quickly flip on and include multiple services that further protect you and your client. You move into web application firewall, same thing, firewall, intrusion, SSL. Pierluigi, what's the difference here in you know, looking at these services and these features across your offerings? What's the big deal here?
The big deal, you have to look at them one by one. In the SD-WAN, for example, most of the SD-WAN devices that I see in the industry are simple. You can call them VPN devices in simple terms. They have very little protection, very little security. Most of them can do any complicated routing, any special netting. They're just very simple devices. We're making, again, the same mistake that we made over and over for 20 years of creating flat networks. With the NetworkBox, like we call a secure SD-WAN for a reason. Each isolated branch, each branch is isolated from the others by proper security. And what does it mean? It means that if somebody walks in with an infected device and it affects your branch, hopefully it will stop at the NetworkBox. It won't spread like fire through your entire network, for example. The other thing about NetworkBox is the client. We include everything in it, right? You don't get, oh, maybe I'll get a discount if I don't get the IPS, but then 3 months from now you get a problem and oh, I should have gotten the IPS. We provide the service. We come to you as the security experts, and we say this is what our experience and best practices tell us that you need. You need it all. You can't make discounts on what you put in there, right? In a WAF, you need all these things. In a secure web gateway, you need all these things. You need DDoS protection. You can't not have DDoS protection, nor can you go buy for $20,000 a month from somebody else. You need something. You need IPv6 integration. You need the layer 7 and layer 3 DDoS protection. These are all things you need. So why quibble over them? They're all in there. They're all available. They're all part of the solution. Okay.
And that's a real solid point. You know, you need it. I think MSPs, you know, today are very aware to not let clients pick and choose the type of solutions that are included in their managed service bundle. And I think, you know, you're kind of saying very similar thing and aligned with how MSPs go to market. You know, as an MSP, you recommend the solution your clients need, and you might as well bring it all and protect them. Here you see a little more detail on the SIM Plus solution. You know, 15 days raw data, hot storage, 75 days warm storage. You know, certainly you can retain your data as long as you'd like, really up to the situation you're in with your client base. But bottom line is SIM supports SASE, SIM supports each of the services deployed and put out there, aligned with SASE by NetworkBox USA. And of course, you know,
maybe we should make clear that SIM, they support each other. You don't have to buy both. In this case, these are two different solutions. You can put a SIM, a NetworkBox SIM in an environment where there is no other NetworkBox solution. It works just fine. Obviously, ours together work better because they built work together.
Yeah, so the SIM Plus is definitely a standalone solution, but coupling it with NetworkBox services, of course, you're going to really see a tremendous benefit. But the goal is to not only cover the NetworkBox offerings, you got to grab your Windows, your service logs, whatever logs you can, and correlate that data across your multiple endpoints, multiple point solutions that you might have out there. Managed cloud email security is also an option. You know, you may have some solution already in hand, but definitely it's there, again, to put under one roof. Reputation monitoring, you know, basically you got to protect your reputation. We know it's out there. You know, take a look at that dark web, see what's going on. But another key service offering by NetworkBox, all covered under the NetworkBox dashboard. Really a unique approach for over the 20 years now, where you have dashboards looking at not only all the network services and cybersecurity services offered, but certainly you could take those dashboards, see them on any type of mobile device, very simply compatible with any of the large screen mobile device you have, your iPad, certainly giving you that opportunity as your workforce is mobile to see what's going on. And then those dashboards can be translated into reports, pre-built reports, custom reports, scheduled delivery, picked up, however you want to do it. So you're not necessarily working hard to deliver the service, but you can deliver some of the greatest reports to your clients. I know most folks are out there doing monthly operational reviews or QBRs with their client, and you're going to just have a wealth of knowledge that you can present to your clients. And in fact, for any type of compliance or any type of real specific reporting needs, you can work with NetworkBox USA and they'll build that report for you. So at the end of the day, you're going out to market with your managed service bundle, and maybe you charge them per user, add in some SASE type offerings, increase that MRR if you aren't already offering it, will migrate over into the NetworkBox world and increase that average revenue per user and grab some more of that wallet share for your client, while at the same time protecting them a little bit better and simplifying your life, making it you know, a little bit easier for yourself to manage all these solutions. And again, outsourcing and partnering with NetworkBox really simplifies your life going forward. And a lot of, you know, potential implementation fees, training and adoption, should you choose to deliver that to your client, wrapped around some of these SASE-based services or these individual networking and cybersecurity services offered by NetworkBox USA. And how does NetworkBox help you get going? Some tremendous benefits available, MSP sales and marketing toolkits ready to go. Pierluigi and team will jump on and help you sell. A real simple technical enablement journey, because all it is about you completing some configuration forms, working with NetworkBox USA to configure and turn up the service, a unified partner support portal where you can open and manage deployment and support tickets quite simply, discounted internal use licenses so you can use NetworkBox USA services internally. And if you are a growing MSP and you're bringing a lot of NetworkBox USA services, you're going to earn some rebates for co-marketing activities, co-op funds for co-op marketing activities or rebates. And ultimately, we want to help you get started. So if you have a solid opportunity to work at an event, do an event, we'll help you run that event, support you financially and with resources to make that event a success. We've got a couple webinars coming up with partners and presentations, and we'd love to help you all. And we do have an opportunity for you to work with us any way you want as an MSP, taking, you know, pretty much the services, taking that first line of support call from your client should something happen, or perhaps just as a reseller where you go in, bring in NetworkBox, we'll own the paper, hold the paper, and you can actually just sell it. You can hold the paper however you want to do it. It's all about partner choice, and we're here to help you get into the SASE world. Here you can see some of the email assets, campaigns we have, some of the marketing assets, really solid stories that you could share with your client about why they may need reputation monitoring, why they need SD-WAN, why WAF, why SIM, and why you're partnering with NetworkBox to deliver it. Mentioned webinars, mentioned activities. We've got a presentation you can use and deliver out there to your clients with invitations ready to go, so you can actually get started pretty quickly introducing the SASE concepts into your client base. So some next steps we'll leave you with, and actually I know we're getting towards the end of our webinar, so maybe we'll pop in our final polling question before we close out, just to see, you know, if you have any opportunities out there, if you're looking maybe to talk more SASE with Pierluigi and the NetworkBox team, let us know. Do you want us to reach out? Maybe you have a SASE opportunity now. Maybe you want to talk about how to make that evolution start, today. Perhaps you're in the middle of month end and we'll give you a call in 30 to 60 days, or perhaps you're already selling support your own solutions. You're good. Maybe you're already partnering and you're good, or just in general, you're all set. I think the key here is, NetworkBox can help you expand your managed services quickly, can help you evolve into the SASE framework quickly. And I think that's what we're all trying to get to. And in fact, you can jump into the SASE world without all the heavy lifting. So maybe let's grab a couple of other opinions out there. We still got a bunch of folks out there. I'm going to close out with how you might start with SASE in your client base. And looks like we've got one more vote to go. If I can get someone else out there to jump in, it'd be great. And we can move on to the next. And we'll close the poll right now. Sounds like we're good here. So, basically we are moving on, and I'm gonna share the poll quick, hide the poll quick, and keep on going because we've got a couple minutes left. We're a couple minutes over. So how do you get started with SASE? Get educated, listen a little bit more SASE online, listen to your clients and prospects, take a look at what SASE service components are already in your toolkit, and evaluate the approaches we kind of talked today and the vendors you could potentially work with. How do you get down from, say, 5 or 6 vendors down to 2, down to a single vendor SASE solution if you can? And take a look in your client base and see, where does cloud SASE fit? Maybe it's a hardware replacement time and you're continuing your move to the cloud, removing that Band-Aid solution. Maybe it's about avoiding point solutions and consolidating as you go. And then the key is to prioritize that migration to SASE-based components. Maybe start internally, get the feel of it, move out into your closely held clients, and then continue to roll it out and continue to consolidate as SASE solutions mature, because it already is maturing, and I'm pretty sure that SASE framework is going to continue to evolve over time. So with that, we'll leave you with these final next steps here. Review your client base and your SASE stack, your cybersecurity and networking stack, to determine maybe you have some gaps in your coverage or perhaps opportunities to consolidate. Consider partnering with NetworkBox to expand your stack overnight. And if you're interested and you weren't able to kind of vote on that survey, email partners@networkboxusa.com to get started now. And since we're over, please feel free to submit your questions. Send an email to partners@networkboxusa.com to get started, or to answer some questions we didn't cover today. And visit networkboxusa.com for more information. And with that, I'd love to thank you all for attending. Congratulations on spending some time to work on your business and not in it. And Pierluigi, any parting words before we go?
Well, just a thank you we have had a lot of people attend, and many have stayed all the way to the end. So thank you for being with us today. By the way, one user left a comment to saying I would have wanted a more technical presentation. I am happy to get on a one-on-one collaborative conversation with any of you. We will reach out after this, obviously, to see how, if you are further interested. If you are, I'm very happy to get on the phone to have a generic conversation about the technology. Obviously, we don't necessarily have to talk about NetworkBox. Clearly, I'll give you the idea from our point of view. Obviously, it's a bit of a biased idea, but still, we can talk about the technology per se, if you like, and we can do it. I'm happy to do it on a one-on-one, which will be probably much more effective. So you can ask any questions you want, clarify any doubt you have about how this works, where it's going, where it's coming from, and maybe they will convince you to become a reseller. So anytime, happy to help.
And there you see Pierluigi's email. If you want to grab them, there's my contact information as well. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.